driving north on the I-93. A river of headlights streaming away from me. Your rack on the roof has been screaming for weeks, but you don't say a word and play drums with your feet. Stepped on our paths under the evergreens. We've done nothing wrong. We've waking so awkwardly. The peaks to your sister is laughing out loud as your dad pulled the sled and you danced around for snow in a town of few.
Is Tracy there now? I haven't spoken to her in such a long time.
She's taking a nap.
How's she been feeling?
I wish I could say she's improving, but...
Did you ever read the book Harry wrote?
You're right that it's a doctor's right not to prolong life?
It's a doctor's duty to preserve good life.
That's wrong. That's playing God.
What do you think taking an aspirin is?
Yeah, I started reading it last night. I can see why it would hit a nerve with so many people. You went fishing yesterday?
Met the strangest fellow, this Socrates Susi.
Do you know I hold the state record for the biggest rainbow?
I don't know what to say. That's quite a story, Harry.
Banks can't just go around handing people's confidential files to curious reporters.
Do me a favor, Harry. Once in a while, quit it with this ace reporter business.
I heard about 10 years ago. I never forget.
Yeah, important things are hard to forget.
And they all said we're so immune with a thrift shop wear and our hair we
Hey, Slate. Action. And do you think that'll make you feel less tired?
No, but maybe if I develop a heroin problem, people will think of me more as a tortured artist.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Harry.
Black coffee and 3 chocolates.
Sure thing.
You're going about it all wrong, Britt. I mean, you always told me you write it with Joe Strummer, but with heroin?
Dangerous Crosswinds was my first screenplay. I wrote it back in 1991, and I wrote it on spec. I wrote it to try to sell it to Hollywood, like so many other screenwriters were doing at the time and are still doing. I did land an agent, the William Kerwin Agency, liked the script, and they represented it for 1 year around 1992. Nothing really, I mean, that's such a long shot, nothing really came of it, but everybody always seemed to still like the screenplay. I just never thought we could film it on my own like we did Old Man Dogs, because again, back then, to do an independent film, you couldn't have too many locations, you couldn't have too much of a cast. A lot of times, a lot of the indies back then were 1 or 2 major locations with a bunch of actors talking to each other. So Dangerous Crosswinds was always there.
Since the last film, Old Man Dogs, that Bill directed back in the late 90s, we'd kept in touch throughout the years, and at one point, he was hosting sort of a monthly meeting of various people to just have discussions about, film and different projects.
It almost got to the point where we're having these meetings about film projects and what's going to be next, and it almost became the point of let's do Dangerous Crosswinds.
It was decided, let's go for Dangerous, because the reason we could do Dangerous Crosswinds in 2003, 2004, and not back in the early 90s was the digital revolution.
This time around, he was interested in utilizing some of the new digital technology to be able to make a film instead of shooting on 60mm film as Old Man Dogs was done.
That now what we used to have to send out, I mean, when we did Old Man Dogs, we rented the camera equipment, we shot it on 16mm. Now you could own your own gear, you could set your own schedule, so the very things that made it hard back then were no longer a detriment.
I was very interested in working with some of the new equipment that came out. Panasonic came out with a camera that shoots video at 24 frames per second. And thus has more of a film-like look to it.
I saw a casting call. I think it was on Stage Source, which is a local casting network throughout New England for the film. And I just felt like Harry Tolan was me, I guess. It said 40-something, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, which I'm not, but I, can act like one.
Back about 8 years ago, I met Bill Milios down at MCTV. Didn't know him. I was walking along, and there was some great footage up on the screen. They were working on the film. So through his film Old Man Dogs, it got me interested, and I said, if you ever do anything in the future, give me a holler.
I got involved with Dangerous Crosswinds through just knowing Bill. It all starts with knowing Bill Milios. At the time this all started, he was working at the Manchester Historic Association and in the Milliard Museum, and I'm involved with Hippo Press, which is a newspaper here in Manchester. And I had known Bill a little bit just because you know people, in this kind of line of work, and New Hampshire's a small state.
I had done some production work on my own, behind the camera, some writing and directing, so I was very happy to join the team as the assistant director.
My scriptwriting teacher at UNH Manchester told me about it being filmed last summer, so I emailed Bill, and Bill emailed me back saying he needed some help, and I was on board.
I was the first one to audition, I guess, over a number of weekends for the part. So I went up and auditioned, and there's a funny story about me going up to audition, I should tell you that. I was the first one. It was like 9 in the morning on a Saturday, and I saw that the director was seeing people throughout 2 or 3 weekends. So I'm driving up to New Hampshire from Cambridge, and I call my acting coach, and I say, Bill, I'm going to the audition for this film. It looks really good, but I'm the first one. I said, you don't want to be first. And there was like a pause, and he said, that's great. He said, you're going to be the first one. They're going to hold up your audition to everybody else. I said, okay, whatever you say. So he tried to change my mind frame, and then, I went up and auditioned, and I really liked Bill and the other people I met there, just a real friendly atmosphere. His mom and dad walking around. It was like a real family-owned business, really.
Take it a little further, Strummer, and we'll be fine. Sorry about these delays, Harry, but we've been especially busy these past few days.
And the pitfalls of success, huh?
Thanks for the compliment.
It wasn't one.
I normally don't agree to speak with reporters if their visit is unscheduled.
Sound policy.
I think so.
You can relax. Nothing here will be printed. The information I'm trying to get is simply for my own interests. Since Alec's wife died, I've been discovering many strange things. One, no less, the existence of yourself.
Morning, Sue.
Hey, Harry. Still stumbling around for a present for Miss Holbrook?
Lovely snake.
Some rare white snake bootlegs would be great. That is, if you know where to find them.
Great, Sue. I'll try to find some.
Wait a second. Wasn't Miss Holbrook, she used to be a politician, didn't she?
She was born in Senator from Maine.
Whatever.
Extremely liberal.
I always say that when you're in Maine, you always have to watch your back at all times.
She served 2 terms from 1960 to 1972.
It's hunting season year-round in Maine. They kill people when they're not killing animals.
Well, then the obvious gift for her would be a gigantic American flag.
My job was to do what no one else wanted to do, really. I worked. So I held a boom mic sometimes, and other times I lugged stuff in, and just whatever needed to be done at the time.
I was a production assistant, and what I did was I held up sheets to block sun off the actors' faces and actresses' faces, and went and got coffee. I also held the boom mic, which was interesting. You had to hold it up, tiring stuff, but you do whatever they ask you to.